After an amazing opening, we meet our YAKUZA protagonist Tatsu, an intimidating man with scars all over his body and a dragon tattooed on his back. He gets up early every single day to make breakfast for his wife Miku, who forgets to eat it since she's late for work. On the way to bring food to his wife, Tatsu is stopped by the police, who immediately recognize him as the Immortal Dragon, a legendary Yakuza that destroyed all of his rivals in a single night, using only his fists. But after that incident, he disappeared without a trace. Currently, Tatsu is dedicated to being a full-time house husband. The show is comprised of small stories that make up an episode, telling us the adventures of Tatsu in his daily life as a house husband. In them, we can see how Tatsu must deal with scammers that offer him implements of dubious quality, who also are amazed at his culinary skills. We meet Masa, a former subordinate of Tatsu, who brings him up to date with what happened with the organization and is looking for him to make him become a criminal again. But he's no longer interested in that, since his only duty now is protecting his family. Tatsu gives Masa a lesson for not understanding what his new lifestyle is like. He also takes advantage using a strategy to arrive at a clothing store just in time for a day of sales. And he meets the boss of the Kunimi family, who recognizes him and threatens the Immortal Dragon, but later quickly disarms him and is hit by a wave of nostalgia, gifting him some wool mittens that remind him of his childhood. In another story, we get to know more about Miku, the wife of Tatsu, who is a professional designer with a great future, who the former boss of the Japanese mafia wants to support more than anyone in the world. That's why he moved away from the criminal world and now dedicates himself to doing all the chores around the house, so that Miku may fulfill her dream. And also because she's not very good at things like cooking or cleaning. For Miku's birthday, Tatsu decorates the whole house, bakes a cake, and gifts her a Blu-ray with the last season of Polycure, an anime that Miku is a fan of, but she already had it, so Tatsu gets disappointed and enraged, and we can see how strong Miku is, since she calms him down with a single strike. On the other hand, we also meet Jin, the couple's cat, and in its stories, we can see the moments where it stays alone, taking care of the house, the way he speaks and interacts with other animals in the neighborhood, how a dog called Elizabeth cannot move freely due to being stuck on its leash, the neighbor's black cat who scolds it for wanting to poop in their front yard, or a crow perched on a wall in the neighborhood. In his day-to-day life, we can see how Tatsu buys an automatic vacuum cleaner for his house, treating it like a new member of his family who is hard to deal with. And we also see how a neighbor leaves her son Ryota in his care so that the boy doesn't stay home alone. While playing, the latter accidentally breaks one of Miku's favorite Polycure figurines and is helped by Tatsu, who easily takes care of the situation by burying the evidence in the backyard. Masa is cornered by a group of gang members because he looked up how to defeat multiple people at the same time on the internet. And right on that moment, Tatsu is walking by and, using his house husband techniques, is able to defeat his subordinate's rivals, who, being in awe of his leader, asks him to teach him those skills. After being kicked out of the house by Miku for doing exercise in the middle of the dining room, Tatsu takes aerobic and yoga classes, impressing all the women with his dance moves. But they are still intimidated by his stare and compare all his yoga poses with typical situations where a mafioso can find himself in. While going shopping in the mall, Miku notices that everyone is intimidated by her husband's appearance, so she takes him to buy some clothes, being fascinated by a Polycure apron and asking him to pose while saying some dialogues from the show. Torajiro, another Yakuza boss known as the Steel Fist Tiger, gets out of prison and seeks revenge against Tatsu for having defeated his men, with him being one of the few people that can stand up to the Immortal Dragon. They duel in a cooking competition in which the victor is determined by the number of likes they get on Instagram, and our protagonist ends up winning. Tatsu and Miku visit a car shop, trying out one that both of them find most striking, but since Tatsu is the one who drives, he imagines several situations where he's in danger, so he decides to not buy any cars. Masa invites Tatsu to his home because he got in a big problem, not being able to take care of his clothes. So Tatsu teaches him various methods to get rid of stains and use the washing machine. The Immortal Dragon is in big trouble. He usually does many unnecessary purchases, and so Miku tells him to sell the things he doesn't use at the neighborhood fair, which was controlled by a small group of mobsters who know and fear Tatsu. Their leader thinks about different situations that lead to his death due to the items the house husband is selling, so his knees shake like jelly, faints, and is defeated. The police investigate Tatsu for planting strange herbs, so he meets up with Masa and they head to a suspicious bar. The police break in, but discover it was a surprise party for the president of the feminine committee of which Tatsu and Masa are part of, and the strange plants turned out to be basil leaves used in cooking. Tatsu plays volleyball alongside his friends in his free time and has a serious match for the first time when he's up against the Bears, a scary group that easily bested our protagonist's team, but since he gave his all, he earns the recognition of the rival's team leader, and satisfied, they all take a picture together. Miku leaves work early and comes across Tatsu talking with different sellers, imagining the worst and that his husband returned to his old ways. But in reality, he was just collecting stamps to participate in a lottery and win a vacuum cleaner, a trip to Hawaii, or a TV. They end up winning a raccoon plushie instead of all those expensive prizes, but it still managed to make Miku happy. The immortal dragon surprises his in-laws with a delicious homemade snack. Miku's father gets nervous and tries to strike a conversation with different topics that remind Tatsu of things that he doesn't like at all. In the end, the former invites him to play catch with a baseball, like if they were father and son, and accidentally, he ends up getting hit by a ball thrown by the ex-YAKUZA. After an altercation with the cockroach that ended with Miku slapping her husband in the face, the latter goes shopping with his friend Masa, and later goes to a community center. Because Christmas was drawing near, Tatsu dressed up like Santa Claus to give somewhat strange gifts to the children, like raw crabs or cockroaches. Still, they managed to have a nice day. Meanwhile, Miku's father, after having enjoyed his day playing baseball, plans for a way to invite his son-in-law to play catch again. Tatsu, wanting to give his wife a big surprise for her hard work, temporarily gets a part-time job in a cafe. His wife gets home at night after working extra hours and finds a table full of delicious meals cooked by her husband, which they can't finish. Miku, who is getting tired, is intercepted by Tatsu, who wants to make her relax using different objects he saw on the TV so that she can rest. But after his wife refuses, he ends up enjoying them himself. On a sale day in the market, Tatsu meets Hibari, the leader of the Tori family, powerful mafia organization, who right now was taking care of that business alongside her goons. Masa meets up with Miku without Tatsu to organize a surprise for his birthday, but when he arrives, he finds them completely defeated because neither of them was good at cooking or cleaning, and so Tatsu avenges them by leaving everything perfect so that the three of them can celebrate. And he is gifted some modern glasses by Miku and a gold chain by Masa. The house husband meets his old boss from the mafia, who he didn't see ever since he abandoned that lifestyle, but today their lives are completely different, with the boss having a cute puppy for whom Tatsu knit a wool sweater. The boss tells him it has some eating problems, which Tatsu was able to solve thanks to his friends who gave him kitchen tools to make a nice snack for the animal. In the mall, Miku gets excited due to there being a polycure show where they ask a spectator to participate. Since the former Yakuza's wife is very shy, he takes her place, creating a hilarious situation with the anime characters. Masa gets a new oven and wants to premiere it with Tatsu to bake bread, but Masa accidentally drops it to the floor, and since it doesn't work anymore, Tatsu ends up cooking using a rice cooker, giving the bread a shape of a bear. Tatsu notices that there's smoke coming out of his neighbor's apartment, and thinking there's a fire, he breaks in to stop it. But he sees Bob, a foreigner that missed his home, and decided to have a barbecue in his house. But because he was cooking inside, it didn't taste well. Tatsu takes the grill out into the street and cooks in a spectacular fashion, but is detained by the police for cooking there. The Yakuza dislikes Miku's invitation to go to a children's amusement park, while they take pictures together, pet animals, and enjoy the attractions. Tatsu didn't look happy, but when they go out to eat, Miku tells him to be honest, and Tatsu admits that when he was a boy raised in the criminal underworld, he could never go to a park like this, so it was actually one of the happiest days of his life. While enjoying his day at the beach, Tatsu is annoyed by the team of bears that beat him in the volleyball game, so Miku decides to not sit idly by and seeks revenge. She plays while showing incredible skill and shows us techniques based on polycure, while Tatsu uses some based on chores related to being a house husband. In the end, the rival team is defeated by the couple. Torajiro reappears looking for Tatsu's help to make a tapioca drink to boost his business. Tatsu, along with Masa, visits stores with unnecessarily needed items for household chores. The Yakuza is called to tell a story to children in the recreation center, and he tells the typical Japanese story, but with many traits changed. Ryota's mother once again asks Tatsu for help, but this time it's to help her son with some homework during the vacations. Using strange ways to teach him math, he helps him with a science project that ends up getting out of control. Tatsu meets up with his friends in a cafe to have a snack, but they misinterpret everything he tells them and get the wrong idea about Miku. An old rival of Tatsu shows up and challenges him to a freestyle battle, in which they mess with a local butcher who ends the fight. Miku goes to her business trip, leaving Tatsu to relax, but when he cannot do it, he seeks the help of Masa, who is an expert, and they play and laze around all day until Tatsu feels the need to do chores again. In the neighborhood, a scary costume contest is made for a Halloween party, which has an endowment of rice and a trip as a prize, and so Tatsu, Miku, Torajiro, and Hibari Tori meet up. Hibari dresses up as a witch, Torajiro is a wounded man covered in bandages, Masa was asleep, so he shows up with only some bags on. And lastly, the protagonist and his wife disguise themselves as pumpkins, but not without bribing the judges with some tasty cookies. In the end, a little girl with a bat costume won the contest. Miku and Tatsu attend an all-you-can-eat buffet, in which Tatsu wants to eat a certain amount of food as to not waste money, and when he looks for the dessert, he bumps into Torajiro competing for a fruitcake, but they are both defeated by Miku's friends, who give her a slice of the cake, which she ends up sharing with Tatsu anyways. Miku's parents organize a dinner, but the father is just as bad as cooking as his daughter, and Tatsu does all he can to salvage the food. But the one who truly saves everyone is the mother, who possesses unequaled cooking skills. We can see how Masa strives to be a house husband like his Yakuza boss, but to no avail, losing the fight against laziness while Tatsu gets an unexpected cold, and when he's trying some homemade remedies, he faints. Now he's being taken care of by Miku, who gives him a vegetable smoothie with a suspicious color, but it manages to cure her husband's cold in a matter of hours, and replaces it with a stomachache. Because it's New Year's Eve, and he doesn't have a job, Masa asks his boss Tatsu for some money, but after not receiving the expected response, they have a nice day together, where they eat with his neighbor Bob, and then they fly a kite together, in which Ryota appears and Tatsu gives him a gift that apparently is some money. This makes Masa fall to the floor in tears. Later, they arrive at a sake fair in a bar where they meet Torajiro and Hibari, where everyone gets drunk, save for Masa. Miku gets really happy, Tatsu falls asleep, Torajiro cries about everything, and then everyone ends up vomiting. During baking class with his friends, Tatsu comes across a guy that wanted to learn how to bake a cake, but because he can't adapt to the situation, the Yakuza helps him by telling him that the most important thing is that if he wanted to do it for a loved one, then the most important ingredient was his heart. That way, this man, called Hirono, succeeds, and he recognizes Tatsu from somewhere. Immediately afterwards, we see Hirono giving the cake to his boss Kunimi for Valentine's Day. Yuriko, a friend of Miku, is going through some financial troubles, so she calls for Tatsu to give her a hand by teaching her how to save money, something he knows very well as a house husband. Actually, the real problem was that Yuzuru, Yuriko's husband, was saving money to give her a gift for their anniversary. Miku is informed that if she says a Polycure quote in the store, she can win a promotional DVD, but since she can't go due to work, she asks Tatsu to do it, who on the way to the store runs into various setbacks and ends up forgetting the quote. But an otaku friend reminds it to him, and as a favor, he asks him to help to win a special Polycure card in another branch office. To win it, they had to do a somewhat disturbing choreography for the public, which they managed to do perfectly. But there were no more cards in the store, and so his new otaku friend passes out. Tatsu's former boss asks him to take care of his dog Kotetsu for a little while, and while the house husband takes it out for a walk, he meets his rival Kunimi, who is also walking his dog. They are both enthralled by the beauty of the other's animals, so Kunimi puts them inside a car and takes them to play in a park. Tatsu's friend, who was giving him a part-time job in his bar, asks him for help to create a new dish for his menu. Tatsu takes him to another store he likes to look for some inspiration. When they return to the bar, he makes a new marinated chicken sandwich, but with lemon and honey with the power to make one remember past moments. Tatsu takes a bite and remembers the exact moment he met Miku, when he was badly wounded in an alley. Masa feels a toothache that Tatsu quickly identifies as a cavity due to his lack of dental hygiene. The aspiring house husband feared having to seek the help of a specialist because of a trauma that his mother caused him as a child, when she told him she would take him to buy candy and ended up taking him to a dentist's appointment. Masa felt betrayed by the person he loved most. After giving him a good hit, Tatsu takes him directly to the dentist, but also feeling some pain in his mouth, guessing that he too has cavities. After watching something spooky on TV, Tatsu is afraid of the noises in his house, and looks for the way to relax so he can sleep. He ends up making dinner, which he couldn't finish because it was too late, and he noticed that the strange noises he heard were from his cat.